Good morning there. Thank you very much for joining us. This is News Center and my name is Betty Callow. Very glad that you could join us this morning. It is the 4th day of June 2018. I'm trusting that you had a fantastic start to this month and excited and motivated for this new week. It's great to be back here in studio. Thank you very much for joining us. Remember that we'll be having different stories that we'll be covering for you. Stories that are currently developing right here in the country, and we'll also be having our teams on the ground to speak to us on certain events that are taking center stage today. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember that you could also just talk to me if you like. Hashtag, of course, to use is KTN News Center, or you can choose to tweet me at Betty M. Kialo. We'll be having various discussions and our coverage is quite wide. Do interact with me. All right, so today we're looking at a number of top stories, like I mentioned. One, of course, that President Uhuru Kenyatta has given a stern warning to those in possession of illegal arms in the volatile Kerio Valley, telling them their days are numbered. Well, we'll be having the details of that in a few minutes here on KTN News Center. Also looking at another top story that we're looking at here is that the Treasury CS Henry Rotich, of course, gave his sentiments on corruption. We'll be having a discussion that he had yesterday with our Sophia Onuna here in studio. All right, so we'll also be having the details of what you're seeing on your screens. The new Dandora, that's the question. Clean, well lit and clearly marked. We'll be having a story there by our Rita Tina on with regards to that. All right, so those are just some of the few stories that we'll be having for you. We have quite a number of stories that we are looking at and focusing on as they develop here on News Center. Let's get this started. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has given a stern warning to those in possession of illegal arms in the volatile Kerio Valley, telling them their days are numbered in what seems to be a shoot-to-kill order. Kenyatta said that peace must prevail in order to contain the insecurity menace ravaging the Kerio Valley Triangle. The president was speaking in Lokichar, Turkana County, where he had gone to flag off Kenya's first crude oil from the Turkana oil fields. Chris Thairu has the details.
President Uhuru Kenyatta was in Lokichar, Turkana County to officially flag off the first consignment of crude oil destined for export from Kenya, which is expected to make oil become a major contributor to the nation's economy.
Kenya wa kwanza.
But with the region experiencing insecurity challenges due to the rampant cattle rustling menace, the president did not mince his words.
Tumechoka na wale ambao wanachochea wananchi kupatia wananchi silaha, wakisema hii ni AK-47 feature, ati ndio msema kweli. Tutaona sasa ni nani ako na silaha nyingi kushinda ule mwingine. Na tumesema hakuna mtu ako na ruksa isipokuwa askari wa Jamhuri ya Kenya kubeba silaha kwenda kutisha, kuua ama kuiba mali ya mwenzake.
The commander-in-chief indicated that he took an oath to defend the lives and property of all Kenyans, and those who killed by the bullet should also be ready to face consequences.
Ule ambaye baada ya kukataa kusarenda hiyo silaha, akipatikana na hiyo silaha, yeye ni adui wa wananchi wa Kenya, yeye ni adui wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, na atamaliziwa hapo hapo, arudishiwe familia yake akiwa kwa sanduku.
Mimi nataka kumwambia Ole Nyang'abua as a national servant, na nitafanya kazi West Pokot na Nanok na Turkana tulete amani.
While regretting the lives lost in Kerio Valley, the president asked the leaders to come together and seek a lasting solution on the runaway insecurity.
Na hata kama kutakuwa tabu, tusuluhishe hizo tabu kwa njia ya amani. Kwa sababu tukiwa na mzozo, hata tukisema tuna mafuta haya hatasaidia mtu yeyote ikibaki kule chini, kwa sababu sisi ambao tuwatakikana kubenefit kwa hiyo resource, hatutaweza kutatua shida zetu na kukuja pamoja.
Kwa ile uhusiano nimekuwa na Nanok, juzi tulikuwa tumepigana kidogo, mambo ya Jubilee kidogo na mambo ya NASA. Sasa naona kama Waturkana wanataka kushika laini moja.
Bandit attacks have riddled the volatile Kapedo region, with residents being forced to flee from their homes due to lack of security. Chris Dairo, KTN News.
Now, staying in Turkana, the president flagged off the first batch of the trucks ferrying crude oil from Turkana County to the port of Mombasa, officially kicking off Kenya's early oil pilot scheme. The president reaffirmed his commitment towards ensuring oil revenues are equitably shared between the locals and the national government. Well, KTN's Abby Agina was in Lokichar and filed this report.
Truck-trailers that will transport the oil to Mombasa.
The symbolic gesture of Kenya joining the League of Oil-Producing Countries came to life after President Uhuru Kenyatta flagged off the first consignment of crude oil at the Ngamia 8 well, marking a major milestone for East Africa.
This flag-off event and the anticipated implementation of the early oil pilot scheme marks the beginning of a long and fruitful journey.
You come here to write another chapter of history.
Sisi sasa tumeingia kwa hiyo ligi ya mafuta.
A total of 2,000 barrels of oil will be trucked from Lokichar to Mombasa County for storage at the Kenya Petroleum Refinery. Transportation of the crude will see each truck carry about 150 barrels of oil. Local leaders have exuded confidence in the oil pilot program, which is expected to run for at least 2 years before Kenya can start commercial production of oil.
We have this early oil pilot project. As a country, is really an achievement. We know with oil, we go far. We know our economy has been down, but now with this, the cost of living will start coming down.
This is a day which we have long awaited as a country because it is historic. The first time ever this country will be exporting oil.
We are having high hopes that the prices of oil in Kenya will come down, and economic growth definitely is inevitable.
It is a good thing in the sense that now I think after some time it is going to help us even lower the price of fuel, and this is going to increase production in many ways.
British company Tullow Oil has been driving the oil exploration program for the last 6 years. The firm notes that the early oil pilot scheme is expected to give them an opportunity to conduct extended well testing to further test the quality of the oil, as well as bulk stock the crude for export.
Crucial milestone towards the fuller resource and the development of the country. Together we've achieved so much, but we have a long way to go.
Kenya's crude oil under the pilot scheme will not see the government generate any revenue until 2021, when full field development is scheduled to start once an oil pipeline is built. Although discovery of oil in Turkana County signals fresh hopes for many residents of Turkana who stand to secure jobs and better infrastructure, there have been simmering tensions around how revenues from the oil resource will be shared.
Katika hesabu ya county government bado iko hesabu ya kila mwananchi ambaye anaishi kwa county hii. Kwa hivyo mimi ni shukurani kubwa zaidi kwa jambo hilo ambalo liliondoa ile mzozo kubwa iliyoko.
Hizo hela zikiingia, mwanze kusema mwataka maji, mwataka shule, mwataka stima, mwataka barabara, mwataka biashara zenu ziinuliwe. Lakini sio kusema ati tugawe pesa hii, ati kila mtu achukue shilingi yake aweke kwa mfuko yake.
Well, after many years of marginalization, Turkana County is now on the global map, even as the first barrels of oil are set to be evacuated from Ngamia 8 here in Lokichar. This will be making a significant milestone for the oil production journey for Kenya, even as plans to set up an oil pipeline are in top gear. Reporting for KTN News, I'm Abi Agina in Turkana County.
Well, let's now turn our attention to the Integrated Financial Management Information System, and controversy has been raging over the role of IFMIS in the recent cases that have been highlighted on corruption. Well, at some point, some members of parliament demanded an investigation into IFMIS. Sophia Onuna spoke to the Treasury CS Henry Rotich on the system and the current corruption cases. Let's listen in.
A big story because of this new scandal. Several people have been charged. But let's go back to when NYS's budget was increased, as I said, we're going to break from 5 billion to 25 billion. What informed that kind of an increase? And now in hindsight, do you think it was a mistake?
Not really. As you know, under the President's initiative in 2013, we wanted to engage the youth and create the jobs and deal with some of the challenges that we had by using the National Youth Service to do most of the public programs. You're aware of many programs that NYS did in 2013, and there are quite a number of other good things that has been done. So that informed the big shift from the budget.
That's huge. Had capacity been assessed? Had, you know, the systems and the structures for absorption been assessed? Because what we are seeing now is pilferage, left, right, and center. Was that considered?
Well, yes, obviously we had already instituted a lot of reforms in the public financial management, the legal framework, and also the integrated financial management system, which would help to deal with such challenges. So yes, there was capacity, but anyway, the challenge also is in an institution which is big like that, dealing with many small programs like, being countrywide and doing all these programs usually poses a challenge in terms of procuring things that they need for their use.
Yeah.
So obviously, that was going to be a challenge, but overall, I would say...
But the challenge here is looting. It's not the work, it's the stealing. So would you then, in your budget, as you come to read it, to justify this kind of amounts of money going to an institution and the money not going to its rightful use?
As I said, a lot of good things have happened. I can explain to you really how the procurement issue and how it links to the IFMIS. The issue really is a question of how items that are procured are, well kept, stored in NYS, which sometimes has posed a challenge in the way the stores who actually receive these goods have been, dealing with them. The big issue has been, whether those have been actually creating some, I would say, delivery notes which are not right. But those are things that are outside. No, those are outside IFMIS.
So government transacts outside of IFMIS as well?
Yeah, there are issues to do with receipts of goods cannot be undertaken, but are verified by storekeepers, for example. So that typically cannot be integrated in the IFMIS system. IFMIS is a financial management system. But what we are trying to do now is to come up with sort of an end-to-end procurement system that is able to capture, issues of how you capture the stores and how they are linked when payments are being made, so that you don't have sometimes like what has happened in NYS, where you have manual LPOs that were attached in the payment.
Yeah, but so we had that, I think it was in 2016, when there was an increase in the IFMIS to improve the system, that end-to-end procurement to pay to improve. So didn't happen at the time?
Well, the IFMIS has an e-procurement system, but it is not as robust as what a typical procurement system that has about like 26 stages that we have in our system. So for everything to be undertaken, procurement right from tender until delivery of goods, that is not fully supported in the IFMI system.
So there are gaps.
So what we are going to do is to have a dedicated e-procurement system itself that will interface with IFMI, so that it can capture some of the issues to do with what I've just said, like delivery notes and the like.
So then would you concede the system you're seeking to improve, the gaps that exist now, are what is allowing for these looters to thrive? The
IFMI system was not designed to capture up to that level. Yeah, you must have its own suite of e-procurement that is dedicated to procurement. As I said, IFMIS is just an integrated financial management system.
So we're looking to get another system?
No, not another system.
To improve IFMIS?
A dedicated suite that will interface with IFMIS.
With IFMIS.
That now will undertake the entire chain, supply chain of procurement. The chain system that is in e-procurement, the system is not adequate, especially to deal with the delivery or procurement of small items like what NYS does, So that is really what we need to focus on, so that we can cover all this and make sure that all of them are actually captured in the system.
We'll go back to IFMIS in a short while, but let's take it back to NYS, because during the last scandal, NYS1, the CBK governor is on record as saying that one of the banks had flagged off some 84 million transaction and wrote to Treasury and followed up with several calls. In fact, he says he wrote to Treasury Director General Accounting, and that red flag was ignored. Numerous calls went unanswered, so that this could have been acted on at the time, but it wasn't. What do you say to that?
Well, usually the people who generate payment is really at the accounting officer level.
Right.
So it's not really at Director General Accountant at the Treasury. But if there is an issue with, say, a vote of, say, devolution and planning, where NYS was domiciled, that accounting officer is supposed to confirm all those payments, because they are the ones who generate the payments.
Because this was an issue of the transaction in the banks, because they're meant to report suspicious activities of what would be dirty money, but that it wasn't acted upon.
Well, you see, the identification of suspicious transactions are identified in the banks, you know, and reconfirmed whether these are genuine payment. And it is really, at the bank level, it is an issue of knowing your customer, so that if there is a customer who has just received huge amounts, which has not before transacted such huge amount, that is what now how your suspicious payment come in.
Yes.
Yeah. But if somebody can justify his payment that he was expected to receive money because of the supplies as made and all that, that would definitely be reflected in the banks. But it's up to
the banks were flagging it
to really
for Treasury to take action on this individual that was transacting. But also with that, in the last NYS, we saw 3 banks being found to have been involved in these transactions with dirty money, and they were given a fine of 3 million shillings, so 1 million shillings each. In 2015, the president talked about very tough penalties, in fact, even stripping banks involved in this kind of transactions of their licenses. So why so lenient? A bank, 1 million, is that deterrent, really?
Well, you may have recalled that in the finance bill, I think 2016, I did raise that penalty from 1 million to 20 million. Part of it was really to be a deterrent measure. But the critical thing here is what the banks really is supposed to do is just know your customer. Because if your customer has been transacting that amount of money, then it doesn't cause an alarm. It causes alarm
when
only
the alarm
if
is raised, the Treasury Director General Accounting Officer is not doing anything, is what the CBK governor put him on the spot for.
It is not the alarm that you see, once you raise the alarm, now investigation takes place now. There is in Treasury Financial Reporting Center. So this is where suspicious transactions arise. And what they do is to send this to the regulators and ESCC also.
Okay.
And to do the investigation and find out where these funds
come from and where they're going.
Whether they have. So those are the investigations that are ongoing, and will now identify whether there was a problem with these funds.
So this time around, if banks are found culpable, 20 million shillings at least, or stripping of their practice licenses.
The issue of stripping, you know, it's a big challenge to say that you're stripping a
The president
license.
said that's his government is keen to do.
You see, the thing is, best practice globally is that banks usually are penalized monetary-wise.
Okay.
And that is why you need to have a sufficient deterrent penalty.
Right.
Because you see, as you know, a bank is there because of a trust and all that. You can't just close a bank like that. Mm-hmm. It has repercussions, you know. Just bank and you can't just close it like that easily.
Tougher penalties.
Tougher penalties is what has happened. You have seen HSBCs globally. Standard Bank has also been slapped in by Fed in the US.
We're hoping to see that here in Kenya as well.
But not closing them.
Okay, let's go back to IFMIS, and we'll put up some of those findings. But the Auditor General report that I mentioned, it came out in 2016, and Cabinet Secretary, it is appalling the kind of weaknesses it found existed in a system that is used to manage public funds. So that, for instance, that there were unidentified users that could log in remotely into IFMIS, and we'll put up that on your screen for you to just see with me. Users with multiple identities, up to even 50. 50 users would have more than one user ID, possible to create ghost IDs, people with remote access capability unknown, that someone could be in Kariomaido or somewhere, get into IFMIS, we don't know who they are, we don't know what they are doing, and money gets out. Talk to me about how we got a system that 2016, the Auditor General gave these findings.
There is no system as such that you have described, for sure. IFMIS is used globally. It's an Oracle-based. In fact, when there was such kind of allegations, even Oracle themselves was wondering, they were curious to know whether that things really happened. Systems, obviously, yes, over time, you need to make sure that there is enough quality assurance as much as possible. Mm-hmm. But there's no system you can produce, especially like managing financial resources like that, and you're just saying somebody can be in somewhere in River Road, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But
money is being looted through this system, so couldn't it be possible, sir?
That's exactly what I wanted to do. I think you need really, and we would be happy to take many Kenyans through how the system works. I think one of the biggest problems we have here is a big misconception of how IFMIS works. You know, the system is as good as how the users are. We have very clear chain of approval levels, you know. So once you enter in, and there is another level of approval, third level, fourth, and all those levels of approval, that transaction, the system will deem to be right. Yeah. So the only way money can get lost in the system is if the 5 level of individuals collude and agree that this transaction will be passed.
And does the system then show where the ball has been dropped in that case?
Yes, the system, and that is why actually, if you find out, all these investigations have been assisted very well because of the audit trail you can get with it. You know, before we used to have manual systems, you know, if you were to do all this investigation, I'm very sure by now you'll be hearing a file has gotten lost.
So you
I don't know. But what is happening
these findings are not true according to you?
It's very clear that if you approve audit trail, it just shows it was Sophie who did. It was me who did.
Your
so
PS,
very clear there.
Yeah, your PS.
Right, that was my colleague Sophia Wanuna speaking to the CS for Treasury, Henry Rotich, yesterday on Checkpoint. Of course, he's answering to a number of questions about flaws in the IFMIS. All right, we want to take a short commercial break, but when we come back, I'll be speaking to my colleague Caroline B. She will be joining me from our City Centre studio, and Caroline will be talking to us about the investigations that have currently, of course, begun at the Moi Girls High School here in Nairobi, which, of course, remains closed. We'll be having that discussion with her in a few moments. Don't go away. Right, so we'll take a short commercial break. Remember that you can always interact with me. KTN News Centre is our hashtag, or you can tweet me at Betty M. Kialo with regards to our coverage this morning. All right, don't go away. We'll be back in a few minutes.